By focusing on Haymitch the drunk, filmmakers missed an opportunity to add depth to Haymitch the character, to hint at the past he tried to wipe away with multiple bottles of white. Welcome back to Alston Stories Hunger Games audiobook-style read-along and analysis. This is part 2 of our 3-part coverage of Chapter 4. Last week, we met Haymitch for the first time at possibly his lowest point. This week, the tributes from District 12 snap him back to reality. By the end of this part, you'll see why the book's Haymitch is a completely different man from the one the films gave us.
Prim was thrilled to have her back, but I kept watching, waiting for her to disappear on us again. I didn't trust her, and some small, gnarled place inside me hated her for her weakness, for her neglect, for the months she had put us through. Prim forgave her, but I had taken a step back from my mother, put up a wall to protect myself from needing her, and nothing was ever the same between us again. Now, I was going to die without that ever being set right. I thought of how I had yelled at her today, in the Justice Building. I had told her I loved her too, though. So maybe it would all balance out. For a while, I stand staring out the train window, wishing I could open it again, but unsure of what would happen at such high speed. In the distance, I see the lights of another district. 7? 10? I don't know. I think about the people in their houses, settling in for bed. I imagine my home, with its shutters drawn tight. What are they doing now? My mother and Prim. Were they able to eat supper? The fish stew and the strawberries? Or did it lay untouched on their plates? Did they watch the recap of the day's events on the battered old TV that sits on the table against the wall? Surely there were more tears. Is my mother holding up, being strong for Prim? Or has she already started to slip away, leaving the weight of the world on my sister's fragile shoulders? Prim will undoubtedly sleep with my mother tonight. The thought of that scruffy old buttercup posting himself on the bed to watch over Prim comforts me. If she cries, he will nose his way into her arms and curl up there until she calms down and falls asleep. I'm so glad I didn't drown him. Imagining my home makes me ache with loneliness. This day has been endless. Could Gail and I have been eating blackberries only this morning? It seems like a lifetime ago, like a long dream that deteriorated into a nightmare. Maybe, if I go to sleep, I will wake up back in District 12, where I belong. Probably the drawers hold any number of nightgowns, but I just strip off my shirt and pants and climb into bed in my underwear. The sheets are made of soft, silky fabric. A thick, fluffy comforter gives immediate warmth. If I'm going to cry, now is the time to do it. By morning, I'll be able to wash the damage done by the tears from my face. But no tears come. I'm too tired or too numb to cry. The only thing I feel is a desire to be somewhere else, so I let the train rock me into oblivion. Gray light is leaking through the curtains when the rapping rouses me. I hear Effie Trinket's voice, calling me to rise. Up, up, up. It's going to be a big, big, big day. I try and imagine for a moment what it must be like inside that woman's head. What thoughts fill her waking hours? What dreams come to her at night? I have no idea. I put the green outfit back on since it's not really dirty, just slightly crumpled from spending the night on the floor. My fingers trace the circle around the little gold mockingjay, and I think of the woods, and of my father, and of my mother, and Prim waking up, having to get on with things.
I don't know if anyone else noticed, but almost every single victor that survived the Capitol's brutality is a little bit unstable. Joanna was bloodthirsty. Finnick was practically a prostitute. Wyrus was not even pretending to be of sane mind and body. Annie Cresta had a mental breakdown. And let's not forget the cannibal who left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. He wasn't a victor, but he was a lunatic. When you take all of this into context, Haymitch's lackluster and unhinged behavior at the start is pretty normal, which makes his instant shift minutes later so impactful. And if the filmmakers had leaned into that, instead of taking the easy way out of making him the comedy relief for so long, it may have been easier for viewers to see his desperation and soul-deep relief that he could actually save one. That maybe this time he didn't have to endure watching 2 young children full of hope and life be shipped home in a box. And that is the part the films never quite gave us. The man underneath who had seen too much and lost so many, he preferred to be numb.
I slept in the elaborate braided hair my mother did for the reaping, and it doesn't look too bad, so I just leave it up. It doesn't matter. We can't be far from the Capitol now, And once we reach the city, my stylist will dictate my look for the opening ceremonies tonight anyway. I just hope I get one who doesn't think nudity is the last word in fashion. As I enter the dining car, Effie Trinket brushes by me with a cup of black coffee. She's muttering obscenities under her breath. Haymitch, his face puffy and red from the previous day's indulgences, is chuckling. Peta holds a roll and looks somewhat embarrassed. Sit down, says Haymitch, waving me over. The moment I slide into my chair, I'm served an enormous platter of food. Eggs, ham, piles of fried potatoes. A tureen of fruit sits in ice to keep it chilled. The basket of rolls they set before me would keep my family going for a week. There's an elegant glass of orange juice. At least, I think it's orange juice. I've only even tasted an orange once, at New Year's when my father bought one as a special treat. A cup of coffee. My mother adores coffee, which we could almost never afford, but it only tastes bitter and thin to me. A rich brown cup of something I've never seen. They call it hot chocolate, says Peta. It's good. I take a sip of the hot, sweet, creamy liquid, and a shudder runs through me. Even though the rest of the meal beckons, I ignore it until I've drained my cup. Then I stuff down every mouthful I can hold, which is a substantial amount, being careful to not overdo it on the richest stuff. One time my mother told me that I always eat like I'll never see food again, and I said, I won't unless I bring it home. That shut her up. When my stomach feels like it's about to split open, I lean back and take in my breakfast companions. Peta is still eating, breaking off bits of roll and dipping them in hot chocolate. Haymitch hasn't paid much attention to his platter, but he's knocking back a glass of red juice that he keeps thinning with a clear liquid from a bottle. Judging by the fumes, it's some kind of spirit. I don't know Haymitch, but I've seen him often enough in the Hob, tossing handfuls of money on the counter of the woman who sells white liquor. He'll be incoherent by the time we reach the capital. I realize I detest Haymitch. No wonder the District 12 tributes never stand a chance. It isn't just that we've been underfed and lack training. Some of our tributes have still been strong enough to make a go of it. But we rarely get sponsors, and he's a big part of the reason why. The rich people who back tributes, either because they're betting on them or simply for the bragging rights of picking a winner, expect someone classier than Haymitch to deal with. So, you're supposed to give us advice, I say to Haymitch. Here's some advice. Stay alive, says Haymitch, and then bursts out laughing. I exchange a look with Peta before I remember I'm having nothing more to do with him. I'm surprised to see the hardness in his eyes. He generally seems so mild. That's very funny, says Peta. Suddenly he lashes out at the glass in Haymitch's hand. It shatters on the floor, sending the blood-red liquid running toward the back of the train. Only not to us.
That's a wrap for today. What did you guys think? Did the films do Haymitch justice or get him all wrong? I think a little of both. If you want to track all these little details yourself and make a go at your own character arcs, I'll put a link to Suzanne Collins' novel in the description. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next time as we conclude Chapter 4 of The Hunger Games.